So I hope you can hear me. I've got a mic on now. So let's hope you can hear me because it can get a bit windy and I want to make sure that I'm heard. It's alive, and today we're talking about the 10 differences between men and women. Hello, darlings, men and women. And this video has been waiting. I was actually working on a reel today. And I realized that if I don't do an actual video, there's going to be a lot of confusion. And I am not the author of confusion. God is not the author of confusion. How are you, my darlings? I'm not going to stay as long as I normally do. I always say that, and then I end up being here for 2 hours, but I actually have somewhere I need to be. So I'm going to get into it. Hello, Amy. It's wonderful to see you too. Thank you for coming. Obviously, I promised to save this video. So don't despair if you have to leave or come back. And I did promise I'd be here more. So today we're talking about the differences between men and women. I'd rather not hold this. So I'm going to put it here. And hopefully that will still get the job done. Do let me know if you can hear me. I hope you can hear me. It's been a pleasure. I am still in the United States of America. I'll be leaving fairly soon. And I'll be back in the English Isles. I can't wait to be back home. I do miss England. And I don't miss the weather because I am loving the weather right now. The sound is low. Thank you, Coach Nadine. Can you hear me? Is this better? Is it better if I hold it? It takes a while for me to get the answer, so hopefully this is better. Darlings, 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 how are you? Okay, so it's when I do a live in England, this will probably be in the evening or during the day, but hello, hello, hello. Better to hold it, says Amy. Okay, I'll hold that because, okay, we won't fuss around. I'm just going to hold it. All right, so forgive me. So let's start with why we need to understand the differences between men and women, because this is coming up a lot from men and women because we haven't been taught the truth or the right stuff. And honestly, I wasn't either. You know, I treated men like women. I treat them like women and was so surprised when they didn't value it. I was so surprised. I've got a video request. I promise I might let you on. If I get through these 10 quickly, and you can all save your questions for the end. Okay. I would be surprised that they didn't appreciate me. I'd be surprised that they would ghost me. I'd be like, I was such a good person to him. I was such an amazing human to him. Why on earth did he disappear? I'm a good woman. I haven't done anything wrong. It took me many years and becoming an expert and doing my research to realize that I was treating men like women, and I was not prioritizing for men what they needed. And this is the thing in relationships and why relationships break down. We break down because we want the other person to accept what we're giving them, regardless of whether it holds value or not. So mainly because I'm talking to girls, it's a little bit like a man saying, look, I'm giving you good sex. What more do you want? Like, because he values sex over relationship, most times he's thinking, but I'm giving you the best of myself, because he thinks you're a guy, right? He thinks that you're going to value that more than you're going to value time and attention and commitment and consistency, right? So this is what's happening in the market. Men are thinking, well, I'm giving her good sex, I'm offering her my body, and I'm doing a good job. I'm putting in the work, and she's ungrateful. She's just ungrateful. She wants more. But that is not her love need, right? Her love need is different. So men and women both need to understand what men need if you're going to be successful with men. Look, the option is singleness, which is perfectly divine. It's a wonderful state of being. But if you consciously make a decision, because some of us haven't consciously made a decision to be in a relationship, we kind of think we should be in one. But if you consciously make a decision to be in a heterosexual relationship with a masculine man, then what you have to understand is that a relationship is about meeting the other person's need, not yours, and them meeting your needs, not theirs. That's why we're in a relationship where we give value in exchange for value. Okay. So if I am giving men all the things they don't need and all the things they don't want, and then they're like, no, thank you, it's easy for us to get into this whole, these men are just full of da 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 da. Now, don't get it twisted, girls. A lot of men are not worth our time and not worth our while. Okay, let's just be honest. We know this, right? But many are, and we're not moving right. So I don't want to talk about, oh, these men, thank you, Money. I don't want to talk about all these men are just full of da 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 da. We understand. I wouldn't exist if men were wonderful. I wouldn't exist. I exist because there is a problem with men and there's a problem with women. But I'm talking about those of you who either want to date great guys, are dating a great guy, or a decent guy, basically a guy you are choosing, okay? And you want to keep that relationship going and you're tired of being, you know, um, confused. You're showing up, you're giving, you're doing all these things, but he just seems to pull away, take you for granted. This is what I'm talking about here. This is why you need to know this, because you're honestly going to struggle. I had a client say to me, you know, she was on a discovery call with me, and she was like, my relationships are amazing. I get on with everyone. Everybody loves me. I am cherished in my relationships. I am I have such healthy relationships, but for some reason, when it comes to men, I just can't seem to get one to stick, to love me, to cherish me. And what I was saying to her is, because romantic relationships are different from friendships, right? Thank you, Shirley Yuyi. Romantic relationships are, different from friendships, but also we're treating men like we do our girlfriends. We're giving them what we would give our girlfriends, and we're thinking, why isn't he responding? So I'm going to go through these. Some you already know, because if you've been following me a while, you will know. If you've done any of my courses, you will know. Some you will know, but maybe not understand why. So I'm going to go through them. I'm not going to rush through them, but I am going to go through them, because if we can master these pieces, honestly, I promise you, it's a game changer. Okay, it's going to completely change the game for you. So let's go for number one. Safety and security versus freedom and challenge. The number one love need of the feminine, of the woman, is safety and security. Okay, we want to feel safe. We want to feel secure. Safety from the world, safety from violence, safety from invasion, safety from being abused. We want safety, and we also want security. That means we don't want to feel like the ground from underneath us will be removed. Hence why we want men who are financially stable. Hence why the most beautiful woman in the world will end up with a really unattractive, weird looking guy, because he can provide security. Okay. So we all have a different level of need in that department. Okay. Some of us need really wealthy men, because to feel secure, we need to be surrounded by complete abundance. That's what some of us need. And there's nothing wrong with that if you have access to that kind of mate. Okay. And some of us have that need, but we don't have access to that mate. And that's a whole different story. And we can talk about that on another life. But that's a level of security a woman needs. Some women just need the security of knowing he can cover the bills and the rent. Some women need the security of knowing he can bring his half to the table. Some women don't even need him to bring anything other than providing, emotional support, blah, 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 blah. Our need for security and safety is at different levels, but we need it. It is fundamental. This is why when a man meets us, the first thing he must establish with us is the sense that you can trust me, I am dependable, I'm reliable. This is why a wise masculine man will always pay the bill. Not because we're trying to gold dig, but because it speaks to the consciousness, the subconscious of the feminine needs to feel safe and secure. So the primal brain, the bit of our brains that has not evolved, that is still very primitive, and that will be in our brains for a very long time, because the survival brain, when a man pays the bill, it triggers the back of our brains, he's safe and he's going to secure me. When a man says you're paying 50-50, she feels unsafe. This is something that happens on a very subconscious level. So, some of us have been on dates and we've been like, oh my God, I love him. He's sexy, he's hot. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Your body kind of likes this man. You go on a date and he doesn't pay the bill. And somehow you feel your attraction falling out. You don't understand. You were so excited. Now you're not excited. You don't understand. The conversation was good. He um he did everything kind of right, but he didn't pay the bill. It's not to do with the money, because chances are most of us can pay the bill. Okay. And many of us are generous. We'll be happy to pay the bill. But he hasn't signaled to the primal feminine mind that he can provide safety and security. Okay. The primal brain is like, we can't choose him. He's not safe to our bodies. He will not provide safety and security. He will not provide security. Okay. These are all things that are happening on a very subconscious level. We're not conscious of it. Okay. So when men hear women saying, we want you to pay, we want you to pay, a lot of them interpret that as gold digging. And I'm going to say something really interesting. Gold digging is really a heightened sense of insecurity. So a woman that hunts men for money, who has cold-blooded thirst for a man's money, that woman is a woman who carries some kind of trauma where she has a very heightened sense of insecurity. So either she didn't grow up in a home where she was loved and secure, she didn't grow up feeling taken care of, and so she's got a heightened sense. So she will do anything for that money. It's not because she's necessarily a bad person, even though she will show up as a bit of a Jezebel, is because that's the nature of her wound. Okay. But the rest of us, we need the gesture. And one thing you have to understand is that dating is and mating rituals of humans, every species has its mating rituals, but the mating rituals of humans is done by tokens, symbols, and signs. Okay. Everything you are doing as you show up on a date is not because you need anything from the other person really to survive, to breathe, because you were doing fine without them. What we're looking for are symbols, tokens, signs, right? So paying the bill is not about, I need you to bankroll me, I want to use you for your money, then discard you. It's a token. It's a token. It's a sign. It's a symbol. Okay. And that is for the guys that are watching. Now, what a man needs is not safety and security. What a man needs actually is freedom and a challenge. Men crave their freedom. They protect their freedom. Their freedom and the feeling of being autonomous is something that if a woman threatens that, he does not feel safe, right? He does not feel attraction, right? He does not feel like this is somebody he wants around him. Men do not do well. And remember, we're talking about masculine energy men, okay? Feminine men behave and want the same things that women want. Feminine men want a woman that pays. Feminine men want everything that I'm going to say women want, okay? They're wired, they're right-brained men. Usually, their brains are different from the average guy. So, the left-handed ambidextrous man is gonna have a biggest corpus callosum. He's gonna be more feminine, masculine, okay, if he's left-handed. Biologically gay men will have a different brain, and they're going to be more in their feminine. So these are men who have different brains. Okay, so they have brains that are more reflective of the woman's brain in certain parts, not throughout. Okay, so when we're talking about feminine men, and then there are those who are biologically kind of dispositioned to be more feminine in their desires, and then there are those who are culturally and socially dispositioned to be feminine. And this is kind of the majority of the modern man wants what women want. So if I get killed in the comment section by men who are like, why are you telling women not to split the bill? And they get really, 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 really upset, right? Because they have been conditioned and socialized to think like women, to want and desire the same thing. Okay, these are the guys that will come to a date looking amazing and thinking that's enough, right? Because the love need and the desire of a man and woman, so they need their freedom, and this is where we fall short as women, because we give them safety and security. We want them to know that we love them and that we care about them. This is where some of us think, if I just pour out my heart to him, right? Think star, I love it. If I just pour out my heart to him and I let him know how much I care about him and I dote on him, he's going to love me, right? Because we think that if we provide this sense of I'm yours, I'm not going anywhere, I belong to you, he's gonna value that, because that's what we value. That's what we value. He's not going to value that because he needs freedom and he needs a challenge. He needs a woman who uncertainty works for him quite well. He needs somebody he can hunt. He needs somebody who knows who she is, doesn't overgive, overshare, keeps a degree of mystery. He needs a woman who is more in her body than out of her body, right? A man, we are now that let's not. I also have to caveat the following by saying that men do want safety and security too, but it's just not at the top of their list. They would rather have freedom, adventure, and a challenge before them, a mountain to climb, an obstacle to overcome, a challenge to be. That's where they really get that adrenaline. That's where they get their value, by overcoming things, by winning things, by getting accolades for things. That's why men love sport. That's why they love games, computer games and all these games. And that's why they love sport. I'm not saying women don't. We're talking about the bell curve here, the outliers on every side. Okay, so if you're the exception, I don't want to hear it. If your man's the exception, I don't want to hear it. We're talking about the rule, the principle, right? So men will always want a challenge. And what we as women don't give them is a challenge, because we are pursuing, we're giving what we want, which is safety and security. So a man doesn't have to show and prove anything before we fall in love with him. He doesn't have to give us effort or investment, because we want him to know primarily and very quickly, you're safe and secure with me, my heart is secure with you, you can have me, right? But a feminine woman is like, actually, here I am, I'm a challenge, I can be gotten, I'm here to be gotten, I'm here for the taking. But there's a set of standards, a set of rules. There's a way that I want to be treated that you have to observe. Okay. So this is super, 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 super important, that you realize that when you're doing something, when you are behaving in a certain way, are you seeking to offer this man safety and security? Or are you seeking to allow him his freedom? Okay, allowing a man his freedom looks like not being in his phone, respecting his privacy, respecting his space, respecting his decisions, and not chasing after him if he's not giving you time and attention, not chasing after him, not making him feel guilty. So my sister was having a hair done, and I was talking to the hairdresser, and she was like, she was so upset. Her heart was really broken. He's not calling me. I've told him if he doesn't call me, it's not going to work. And he has to call me. And today he called me, so I didn't talk to him. And she's creating this chaos and this drama around this guy, because she wants that closeness, she wants that, she wants to feel secure in the relationship, because it's a long distance relationship. And I had to explain to her that if you do that, you are only going to create more and more and more of what you don't want, right? Because that is not how men will come to you if you give them freedom, right? If a man feels like being with you is like being with himself, like he can do what he needs to do without anyone trying to control him, he's going to most likely choose you. If he feels like you're the kind of woman who holds herself to a standard, a sexual standard, a social standard, you're not on the phone with a man for 3 hours because you have such a connection, but you're on the phone for as long 30 minutes, an hour max, because you actually have a life, and he will only really get to spend real time with you if he takes you out on a date. You're not going to be texting back and forth for 2-3 weeks. If he wants to actually see you, good afternoon, darling, he has to actually invest time in a date, right? When you set that standard, not in a neck rolling, weird way, right? But in a feminine, respectful way, you know, I feel more comfortable meeting in person than going back and forth via text. I look forward to when we can meet. And you leave that with him, right? You're not going to say, listen, I don't like to spend time texting back and forth with anybody because that's just low value and is only going to get on his nerves. You can just say to him, man, look, I love I'm enjoying getting to know you. I just feel more comfortable getting to know you in person, rather than going back and forth in text. I'd love to meet up whenever, whenever you're ready, let me know. And then it's up to him. And when you give the man that challenge, that standard, that she's not the girl that I'm going to be texting when I'm bored watching TV, I actually have to make an effort. What happens in his body is you become a challenge, his attraction for you rises, and you just become the better woman. So always holding a man to a standard is actually what they need, not making it easy for them, because making it easy for them is providing that security and safety, right? And that's not a major love need. I'm going to leave that one there because I've got a few more to get to, but I hope that I've made that as clear as possible. The next thing is masculine men are givers, not receivers. This is a standard issue, okay? But I am always surprised at how much confusion comes with this, or debate comes with this. There's no debate. Okay, if he's a masculine man, he is going to absolutely grow in attraction by giving. Why? Because the psyche of the masculine, the way the hormonal makeup of the neurotransmitters of the masculine man are wired to produce the right hormonal cocktail when he's giving. So he attaches to what he invests in. He attaches in what he is giving. If you look at the whole male body, there's nothing in it that's designed biologically to receive. Everything is to expel, to give, right? Whether we use how he wants to use his body, that's up to him. But we are built for receptivity, right? Our organs are built for receptivity. Our bodies are built for receptivity. We are receptors and we function and flourish really well as receptors. But what we do is, because we feel loved by receiving, we think, oh, I'm going to love him by giving. I'm going to start buying him gifts, and I'm going to start paying for trips, and I'm going to spoil him. And, I saw some reel of some girl, men like things too. And so she was picking up her boyfriend, or I think boyfriend, from the airport, and she bought him a bunch of roses and gifts, and I was, and all these women were underneath going, yeah, and I was thinking, well, that's just ridiculous, because he's not going to love you. He's going to take you for granted. That's the piece that the reel doesn't show, the bits where he's taking you for granted. Men do not fall in love by receiving. We fall in love by receiving. And so because we think men and women are the same, we think, let me give him, let me pay his rent, let me help him with his car note, let me pay for the date, let me do all of these things. And I understand, because the digital world is full of men screaming, help us pay the bill, pay the rent. Why do you women want us to pay? I mean, there's this whole noise, and it's very, very, very loud from the feminine quarters of the male species, human species. Because I'll be honest with you, masculine men are not on Instagram commenting on feminine pages, other than good job, yeah, she's telling the truth, or whatever. Usually, if a masculine man is going to comment, it's usually to validate, because I create content for women to be in relationship with masculine men. So they know that I know what I'm talking about. So they're like, yeah, she knows what she's talking about. These are masculine men. And then usually they don't leave a whole paragraph. But if you look through the comments and you see whole dissertations and all kind of things going on, it's because there's a very vocal feminine uh, male population that kind of can make us feel like they represent men in general. They certainly don't represent men. A lot of these people with podcasts, they don't represent masculine men, or even the majority of men. They're just the feminine ones that just want to make money by doing podcasts, or whatever the situation is. The reality is, no matter how much they scream, shout, and say, women should pay too, women should do, it's not fair. There's, I had a guy on one of the comments say something like, it was so funny. He says to me, what did he say? He said, um, this is the generation of men who've had to deal with 300% increase in inflation, and he's giving me all of this stuff, and no other man has had to deal with this level of da 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 da. Why do women want men to pay whatever? So he went into this whole dissertation. I'm sure you can find it if you search on one of my reels in the comments. But here's what I said to him. I was like, when has it ever been easy? I was like, and he was like, this is the only generation. I was like, maybe your ancestors might not agree, because every generation of men have had to sacrifice something to provide. And I had to let him know that his ancestors, you all know that I'm African. My ancestors had to go and almost put their lives on the line to feed villagers. They had to go into the wild and face lions. I come from Zimbabwe, so we have lions there. Yeah, they're still there in the wild. And there was no protection. They had to stay up in the middle of the night to protect against lions and bears and snakes, just to go out for days upon days upon days on hungry stomachs to bring food, not just for their family, but for the village. Do you understand? I don't know who's put this thing in men's head that it's ever been easy to be a man. It has never, ever been easy to be a man. I tell my son that all the time. It has never been easy to be a man. Being a man is a high calling. Being a man is a tough thing, which is why they deserve our respect when they fulfill their purpose and the assignment as men. That's why they deserve our respect. But at the end of the day, it has never been easy for any generation of human male to be a man, because the ultimate calling of a man is to lay down his life for women, children, and the planet. It was always the original design that a man would lay down his life, right? And you have these men who should really just wear skirts and just save us all the hassle, who really feel like it's so unfair that we have to protect and provide for women. Right? I can't. I can't. It was not easy for my father. It was not easy for his father. It has never been easy. And neither is it easy to be a woman, but it's different. It's never been easy to be a woman. It's not easy to be a human. But we have a generation of men who want easy and are prepared to scream, shout like 4-year-olds that women should become men. I am letting you know today that those are not the men that you want anywhere near you, because you will be abused terribly emotionally by these types, okay? And number 2, they will use you up and waste you. And number 2, a masculine man will absolutely reject you. He will lose attraction for you. So remember what I said to you about when the man doesn't pay on a date and you lose attraction. You somehow kind of lose attraction. The more you have to keep paying on dates, the more attraction you're losing. That's what happens to a man when a woman insists on giving. When she insists on, buying him things and giving him things and buying him. At first, he's going to be like, okay, that's nice. He's going to appreciate it. He might even appreciate you paying his rent, but he's already subconsciously decided not to commit to you, marry you. You have shown yourself to be useful, but a man wants to be with a woman that looks with him with respect and admiration. A woman that every man wants to see that respect and admiration in his woman's eyes, right? And he knows you can never respect him if he couldn't provide. He knows. So all these stories, my girl, she met me when I had nothing and we slept on the floor together and she paid and she did this and now I'm a multimillionaire so she gets to have everything. Da, 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 da. That story is an outlier story. It's the exception, not the rule. The truth is, the real reality and what happens on the daily is that he is going to leave that woman who saw him at his weakest, who saw him at his lowest, and he's going to go for the woman that looks at him like a god. He's going to go for the woman who has met him at the point of his success, who looks at him like, oh my God. That's the one he is going to choose. And he's going to make up stories about how you're crazy and how you didn't treat him with respect and how you whatever. He's going to tell himself that story because a man deeply, especially a masculine man, deeply desires to be admired and respected by his feminine. And we do not respect or admire men that we have to pay their rent and pay their bills. We don't. And I was hearing a story the other day from somebody who shall remain nameless about, this guy was telling me that basically he married the woman who lay on the carpet with, who slept on the floor with him when he had nothing, paid the bills when he had nothing, blah, blah, blah. He married her, but he's a serial cheater. He cheats on her, and he's not ashamed because I gave her the ring and I gave her the title and I gave her the kid. And a lot of men think that's being a man. That's just being a child. It's ridiculous and it's embarrassing that there are men who actually think that way. Unfortunately, they do exist. But the reality here is, yes, he did marry her, but did she get a husband? He married her out of obligation. He married her because there was this part of him whose conscience was like, I can't just leave this girl. I can't just, be done with her. That's the truth. Whether it's palpable for you, palatable for you, or whether it's not, whether, I know I'm going to get hate for telling you this because you can't tell the truth and not upset somebody. But this whole idea that giving to a man, planning for a man, let him work, let him do the work. If he wants you, he'll do it. Point blank, period. If he wants you, he'll do it. If he really, really, really wants you, he's going to pay. If he really, really wants you, he's going to ask you out. If he really, really wants you, he's going to make the effort. If he's not doing it, you are just one of the cogs on his wheel. And honestly, you're wasting your time. Do not deal with any man who is not investing and making effort from the gate. End of story and period. Okay? Whatever investment and effort looks like for you. Number 3. Men need is a follow on really, but number 3. Men will take respect over love. Why? Because respect is love for them. Okay. For us women, we want respect, but we feel respected when we're cherished. Okay. So let me explain that. When your man cherishes you enough to come home, no, I'm not gonna hang out with the boys today. I'm gonna come home to my wife because she's expecting me. We're having dinner. You feel cherished, but you interpret that as respect. My husband respects me. He doesn't just go out, right? But it's cherishing. He's cherishing your feelings. He doesn't want to disappoint you. When a man, you kind of feeling hurt and upset, and he's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't want to upset you, babes. I'm really sorry. How can I make it better? That's him cherishing you, right? But you take that in your heart as respect. Like, he respects me, he respects my feelings, right? But it's not the same thing. I will say that it's not the same thing. Men don't need to be cherished as much as they need to be respected. Respected for what? For their thoughts. Respected for their leadership. So going back to the point of a man wants a woman, wants to feel admired. It goes beyond just looking at him like he's the king of kings, right? It goes to when he shares a thought, when he leads, when he says, this is what we should do, or this is what I think we should do, that it's met with serious consideration. Not, oh, that's just stupid. Nah, we're not doing that, or whatever. It is not met with minimization. It's not met with rolling eye and kissing teeth and whatever else we do. A man wants respect in that you don't call him names. You don't say, man up or behave yourself. Or treat him like he's a boy. You speak to him with the same respect you would your boss, right? You don't speak to your boss with respect because he or she deserves it, per se. You speak to them with respect because of their rank in your life and what they're capable of doing and not doing. which is why we should not date men we do not respect. And we cannot, as feminine women, respect men that don't provide or protect. Okay, so you have to think about it in terms of my man. Even if I'm angry with him, even if I'm upset with him, even if he's done a lot, I must never ever open my mouth and disrespect him. I mustn't be disrespectful. Okay, because that can make a man go so cold in desire for you. And I can guarantee you that I have spoken to so many women, thousands of women. And I can tell you that for the most part, we lose a man's attraction through disrespect. You cannot speak to a man the way you speak to a woman. And this is why I created the How to Talk to Men So They Listen. I think it's one of the most popular courses because I teach you how to speak to a male brain and a male psyche to still say what you want to say, but from understanding how he needs to hear it, right? Not how you want to say it, how he needs to hear it. And the reason I say that relationships are for the mature is that if you're immature, you just want it off your chest, right? Because the only thing that matters in the world is what you feel, what you want. But if you're mature, it's not about getting it off your chest. If you're mature, it's about getting the job done, getting to the goal as quickly and as efficiently and as pain-free as possible. So a lot of women, when they're dating a guy or talking to, I mean, I get this even in the comments when I do reels and I'm teaching you how to talk to men, and I get, just, and I always get pushback because for some reason, I've had women say, you want us to tiptoe and keep our mouths shut. Never said such a thing. I'm saying if you want to win with men, if you want his body to rise in attraction for you and you don't want to lose a good one, you're vibing, you're getting on, you're having a good time, but all of a sudden he's going cold. Most of the time, this is why it's the disrespect. And sometimes we disrespect men in a jokey way, but they take it to heart, right? I believe the course for this is Secrets of a Man's Mind. I think there are 2 secrets of a man's mind. I talk about that in those courses. There is a discount code Black40 that you can use to get 40% off all the courses I'm going to mention. But I talk about that in The Secret of a Man's Mind 1 and 2. And I also talk about that in How to Talk to Men So They Listen. But we really have to be careful that a lot of the things that we think are funny are actually really hurtful. And I'm going to talk about another difference that will hopefully bring this to light. Number 4, these are in no particular order: distance and space versus proximity and closeness. As women, we feel close to our man. We feel more loved, and we develop more love through proximity. Okay, we release that oxytocin more when he holds us, when he touches us. It's like, whew, oxytocin go through the body. Come on now, right? And we feel more bonded to him. So we definitely crave proximity. We crave closeness. It signals to us that we are loved. It signals to us that we are cherished. However, what is the priority? What matters? What the difference here? It's not so much just a priority. Men enjoy closeness too, right? They enjoy being close. They enjoy our time. But the difference is the more time they spend with us, the more closeness they have, the lower their testosterone goes. Okay, they begin to deplete. Their testosterone begins to deplete. And so what happens is they now need distance and space, right? to build up their reserves. At this point is when we start chasing after them because we had a great weekend, it was fantastic, or we had a great trip, or whatever we did. We had a great chat, we were very close. So I want you to think of it this way: the closer you are, the more distance and space he's going to need. For us, it tends to trigger those abandonment wounds, right? We start to feel abandoned. We start to feel like he doesn't like me anymore. And that piece right there, that's when we start to misbehave. That's when we start sending messages. That's when we start calling. That's when we start chasing. That's when we start pursuing, because we don't understand what's actually going on. Whilst we're having a good time with this man, we need to, on the back of our mind, realize that he's probably going to disappear. At some point, his communication is going to die down. At some point, his need to be around us is going to die down. He doesn't even consciously know what he's doing. He's just responding to his biological impulses. He's going to need distance and space to organize his thoughts. Now, if you let him have distance and space and go to therapy for that attachment issue that we're dealing with here, okay, now that you know what's going on, and if you still can't let him have a bit of distance and space, then I want us to make that call. I want you to come and help and get that free call with our coaches, and let's help you deal with that insecure attachment, because that's really what's going on at this point. Which is why we always say, have a life of your own, have things that you love to do. Don't have a life don't have a non-life and expect to be able to cope with those moments. So having a life that is full and delicious means when he does disappear, you give him that space and you get on with your life. And it doesn't feel like space because you're doing you, right? So always have that thing. Okay, so we have a few helps. Fantastic. I don't know if it's going to trigger on this live. I hope it does. If you don't get a message, just go to any of the reels thereafter and comment help. And if you don't get a link right away, but we need to master and have a tolerance for space. Men need it. They needed to regulate. They needed to biologically come back to equilibrium. But here's what's super, super important. Okay. They needed to decide if they like you or not. And, we decide, again, the differences between men and women. We decide whether we like a man by being with him, right? I like you. I like you by being with you and getting to know you and getting that closeness and proximity and letting my body tell me how I really feel. But the opposite is true for a masculine man. He will only figure out if he likes you when he's away from you. At the end of the day, men are going to marry the woman they can't be without, not the woman they can be with. So when you're having this amazing, great time, what you are really doing is giving him reasons to miss you, giving him an atmosphere to miss, but do let him have that space as long as he needs. If you are not in a committed relationship, give him as long as he needs. Give him as long as he needs. If you're just dating, let him go. Let him do his thing. Okay, he'll come back and he's going to be way more invested. If he disappears for 6 weeks, it's over. Cut him off and set him loose. But the ruminating period of humans is 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. So he's thinking about it. Okay, if he's thinking about it that long, maybe you didn't make a good enough impression. Maybe there's too many pros and cons. Okay, if we're dating properly, dating playbook is the course for this. We're dating properly, flirt and date, mastering attraction. If we're dating properly, a man should crave, he should want to bounce back. Okay, some will take healthy space and come back. Take healthy space and come back. And you might not even feel like they're taking healthy space. Some might say, oh, I've got something to do at work and I just need to be off grid for a while. That's him needing healthy space. Say to him, of course, take as long as you need. Have a wonderful week until we speak again, or have a wonderful time until we speak again. Let me know if there's anything you need from me. And leave him, let him go. Because he's going to decide whether he likes you in his time alone, not with you. Okay? Fundamental difference. And this should definitely, hopefully help you if you get understanding. Another difference is this. As women, we choose who to marry, rightfully and wrongfully. We choose who to commit to based on how we feel about them, right? We make emotional decisions. There's nothing wrong with that, because we're emotional beings, as long as we also engage the left lobe and go into our rational brain and also figure out if it also makes sense on a rational level. But by and large, we are emotional beings. We're right lobed. We tend to think and feel. I've had this conversation with you on multiple lives and videos. And I talk about this, I believe, in one of my courses. I can't tell you which one. But we tend to, choose who we want, and we should, because our bodies tell us who to be with. Okay, so for us, it's quite instinctive. The choice of a mate is quite instinctive, and we're gonna go mainly with how we feel. And hopefully, the feeling we're going for here is safe, secure, and cherished. Right? Well, cherished is a perception, but safe and secure. right? And love and loving, like there's love in our heart, we feel that love and we feel safe and secure, that these are good feelings. That's kind of primarily what we should be going for. If we're going for excitement, adventure, and thrills, we're probably going into the realm of trauma. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're kind of playing with some trauma. Okay, so we really want to move emotionally in the direction of the man that makes us feel the most safe, secure, and valued. Right. That on top, I mean, the others, if there's excitement and all these other things, they're welcome too. But fundamentally, that's how we should choose. So I am not criticizing the woman for being emotional. I'm just kind of directing your emotions a little bit. But men, and I'm going to say this to you point blank, period, they do not choose who to marry based on how they feel about her. Okay, this is really important. A man will not choose who to marry. He can use the girl he loves as a side chick. He can use her. He can cheat on her and cheat with her. A man can have the most beautiful love affair with you, like the most emotional love affair with you, and not choose you for marriage, and that can break your heart. Because at the end of the day, he's going to make a decision for long-term relationships. And I'm not saying this is wrong or right. I'm just saying this is how they're wired. We would all love men to choose the women they love because life would be so much easier. They wouldn't abuse the poor other woman, and they wouldn't be cheating on her, and they wouldn't be doing all that crap if they just chose a woman they loved, provided, protected, and cherished her. Then the world would be a wonderful, better place. Who agrees with me? Yes. But unfortunately, a masculine man is always going to choose the woman that is easiest. A feminine man is going to choose a woman that is weak-minded. I'm going to explain. So let's start with the feminine guy. The feminine guy wants a weak-minded woman so he can manipulate and exploit and get her to be of service to him and batter the poor thing, right? So he wants a weak-minded woman, a woman that doesn't think for herself, a woman that doesn't have any values or real standards, a woman that's, I've got a reel coming up. It's called How to Tell You're a Weak-Minded Woman. So, that'll be coming up soon so you can see it. But a masculine man, he wants a woman who has standards, boundaries, holds to them, is very kind of firm, self-respecting. Above all, that's easy to get on with. He's going to choose the woman that's easiest to get on with. The woman that he doesn't have to fight with all the time and push back with all the time. A woman that doesn't bring drama. Even if she doesn't necessarily do it for him emotionally, he will make that decision, which is why, ladies, if you're on this live, it's because you're a true black swan. If you're watching the replays, because you're a true black swan. So I'm hoping you'll understand what I'm saying. Stop trying to make a man stop misbehaving, creating drama. I had a conversation with a young lady, very beautiful young lady, stunning young lady. I'm one of these women. When I see beauty, I'm going to call it out, okay? And I love beautiful women. I love beautiful things. I love beautiful people around me. Saw this beautiful young lady, young and beautiful. And she was like, I'm ready for the ring. I'm not getting the ring, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, the only reason a man hasn't snatched you up is for the following. I knew it already. She just didn't know that I knew it. But I asked her some questions and she was like, well, we've been fighting a lot in the last 8 months. We've been fighting. We fight about this. I was like, what are your fights about? Oh, I think he lied to me. And she just went into it. And I said to her, well, I'm going to point blank period tell you that he's not going to marry you. I don't think she was expecting. By the way, if you do a discovery call with me, you get the truth. You get a discovery call with my coaches. We just give it to you straight because honestly, you don't pay us to be, your friends. We're going to tell you what you need to hear. You pay us to tell you the truth so you can fix it. Of course, it's not always easy to hear, but we always sit in a loving, prayerful way. But we're going to tell you. So I said, he's not going to marry you. I said, there's no way he's going to marry you. In fact, no man is going to marry you. What they're going to do is they're going to sleep with you. They're going to take you to parties so that you look pretty. They're going to parade you so that his status goes up, but he's not going to marry you because you have no emotional mastery. You have no emotional control. You are disrespecting him. You are too much work. Some of us listening to me, and I want you to hear this from a mama's heart, a big sister's heart. Some of us are too much work. We are a lot for our friends, for our family, let alone a man. We have no filter. We have no emotional control. Everything is worth fighting. Everything is worth. You need, honestly, ladies, if you're going to genuinely, if you're on the market for marriage, and you're a ticking time bomb and a trigger factory, anything sets you off. Anything. You. I can't say this in public. There are ways to address everything. Everything that occurs in a relationship, I promise you, there is a high value, feminine, effective way to handle anything. I promise you. You never ever need to disrespect a man, raise your voice, and start fights in your relationship to be seen and heard. And I am so sorry. It's not your fault. Nobody told you. Nobody told me. I was a nightmare wife and a nightmare girlfriend for a lot of men. And I don't know how my ex-husband could tolerate it. I mean, I was a friggin' mess because no one ever taught me the skills. No one ever taught me how to talk to men so they listen. That's why I created that course with my whole heart and my whole chest, because if we can master knowing that our needs are valid, our feelings are valid, but there is a way that is effective, that produces results, and above all, that nurtures intimacy, that nurtures closeness, that nurtures harmony, then we will know that I will be heard in this relationship. And I said to this young lady, you need to heal your wounds, because some of us are taking what our daddies did to us and bringing it to this man. He had made mistakes. He had lied to her. But I happened to know this man, and I knew he loved her. In fact, the only reason she was talking to me is because he'd asked me to speak to her because he loved her. He loved her, but he was starting to doubt. And I thought, let me help a sister out. And I said to him, would you mind if I spoke to her? Because I was really desperate to help a sister out. Okay. I was like, hey, Greta. I was desperate to help a sister out. I was like, oh God, because I knew that this guy's a high value guy and he's a friend of mine and he's he's a catch. And I love her and I love women. I was like, oh, I'd love for this to work. But they're now not together. Because like most people who do a discovery call with me or talk to me, or most people, they think I'm giving them my opinion. I don't give my opinion, ladies. If I'm giving my opinion, I'm going to tell you this is my opinion. I have been a relationship expert for almost a decade. I have spoken to thousands of women. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not one of your girlfriends who decided to do a YouTube channel. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I am talking about. And they're not together anymore. We lose great connections because we can't be told. Greta says it's not my opinion, it's what works. The ladies' relationship coach is in the house. It's what works, but nobody wants to hear what works. You want us to just tickle you and tell you he's a cow, he's an idiot, these men are good for nothing. That's not going to serve you. What's going to serve you is to learn how to nurture authentic connections with men. What is going to serve you is learning how to be your feminine self. Because at your feminine When you are feminine, you're not doing it for a man, you're doing it for yourself. You are more powerful, you are more influential, you are more cherished, you are more in your healthy in your physical body, you are more regulated in your mind. Feminine energy isn't just about getting a man. And when you create that for yourself, you invite the kind of love you want. But we want to be out here snapping our fingers, rolling our necks, and talking to men like they're 4-year-olds. And I'm letting you know it hasn't worked. It didn't work for our mamas. It didn't work for, it's not working. What it's doing is creating animosity, right? So we need to deal with that. I kind of forgot where I was. I think I was talking about the rational and the emotional. So yes, a man is going to choose based on a rational idea. He's going to sit down, do the maths. In mastering attraction, I tell you that men will judge you. Men will judge you, whether you like it or not. Men will judge you. Men are judgmental. They're going to judge you. They're going to judge every conversation you've had, the way you behaved that time, when this happened, when that happened. They're going to judge you. Trust me, while they're distant and separate from you, they're going to judge you. They're not blinded. And then ultimately, they will decide who they're going to marry based on who behaved the most high value, the one who is more regulated, the one who is going to create an easier environment for him to flourish. And that's why you can be dating a guy, and after 2 years, he marries some other chick. And you're like, what the hell? Because in the time you're with him, he cannot compute to his logical brain. Men marry logically until they reach andropause. And we're going to talk about andropause in a minute. Okay. Numbers. I'm going so slowly because I want to share so much with you, but I got to go because soon my battery is going to die on me. Next thing is men are very sensitive whilst women are very emotional. We don't always understand the difference between being sensitive and being emotional. Sensitivity isn't to do with emotion. It means when you touch him, it hurts. Okay. A man's inner soul, his inner being is very sensitive. This is why respect allows him to feel protected. A man will feel hurt and he will pull away and you won't even know that he's hurt because you disrespected, because you said something. Please, ladies, understand there is no woman as sensitive as a man inside. Please understand. Handle his inner world with sensitivity. And only a feminine woman can do that. Only when you handle yourself with kindness and sensitivity, which is why how to talk to men so they listen is important. How to communicate is important. How to respect a man is important. How to respect yourself so that you can respect a man is important. Because they get hurt very easily. Very, very easily. And we're going to talk about how they regulate the emotions, which is different from how we regulate our emotions. But a man will immediately lose attraction for you if you hurt him. And some of us, we have no filter. When we're upset, we do too much. We say too much. Just because you were upset and said something you had no business saying that was hurtful, maybe you threw back at him something that he shared with you in a moment of vulnerability. Just because you've made up, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Just because you've made up, had makeup sex, or now you're friends again, whether you're sexual with him or not, or whatever. Just because you think we're good, you're not good. Okay? He just hasn't found your replacement. You're not good. Now, this shows up in marriage. When I deal with marriages, it's these hurts that a man will carry in his soul, but because he's married to you, he won't leave because he doesn't want to mess with his sensual stability. He doesn't want to lose his home or access to his children, but he has decided you're not. A lot of men and women divorce in marriage. But when you hurt a man, when you throw back at him what he shared in a moment of vulnerability, when you share his secret with your little friends and he finds out that he told you a secret and you went and told all your girlfriends over a glass of wine, I promise you, he is hurt. Because he is very sensitive, and how it will look on the outside is maybe a bit of aggression, maybe it will look a bit like anger, or it might look like disassociation. He may just seem distant and disassociated, and you'll think, oh, these men are so hard. They're not hard. Men are very sensitive. We are emotional. That means we're able to navigate through our emotions. Our emotions are easier for us to navigate. I'm not saying they're easy to navigate, but we are definitely built with more capacity to explore our emotions. And because we understand them better, we forgive, and we let it go, because our love and the feeling we have for this man allows us to forgive a lot of things. And if he can really make it up to us, it's going to be fine because he made it up to me. But it's not going to work for a man. Be very careful. Take it or leave it. Said what I said. Um, let's talk about andropause and menopause. Okay, this is for women that are dating men over 45 ish. So, just like menopause happens at different times in a woman's life, some women start menopause at 30, some 40, some 50, some 60. Okay, but we're talking by and large around the 40s. A man goes into andropause and he changes. Okay, we change as women. We become we get more progesterone. Our hormones start to go a little bit funny, but we by and large, tend to become more masculine. We want more of that freedom, adventure. Our sex drive spikes. Our testosterone is at a different level. So there's so many things that come with menopause, right? A lot of things that don't always come and do us much in the way of good. Take it from one who's going through peri, right? But as a man is going through andropause, his testosterone levels decrease quite a lot, and his progesterone goes up. So what happens is he becomes a more feeling man. Okay, so what I said earlier about them marrying rationally, that's for the men that are under 45 as a rule. Okay, when they're 45 and over, they start to marry and date more emotionally. Okay, at this point, they are looking for an emotional connection. All right, the same kind of rules of attraction apply at any age for a man, but at an older age. So this is why this is why older women then go for younger women, because there are two bodies that become very feminine, and that is the older guy and the younger woman both have more femininity. As a woman goes into menopause, she becomes more masculine. Usually she's achieved her success, da, 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 da. She wants her freedom. She wants to live her life. She wants to do all of these things. Okay. So we almost switch roles, if you like. A man's body is breaking down. If he was a hardworking man, his body is actually breaking down. So he's looking for a nurse. Okay. He's looking for somebody who will take care of him as his body breaks down, depending on his lifestyle. Some men are really healthy, always take care of themselves. They'll be 100 years old and strong and fit. But a majority of men who didn't take care of themselves, who worked themselves to the bone, or didn't take great care of themselves, when they're getting into andropause, their bodies break down. Okay. So they are dating for somebody who will love them, spend time with them, and just be there for them. So you're going to have more of a cuddly, more emotional relationship with an older guy. Okay, so I'm just putting that out there because I think that might be good. So if you're younger and you like a bit more of a cuddly, cuddly doll, somebody to cuddle up to, who wants to talk about, lovey-dovey things or whatever, go for that older guy, because his body is changing. He is becoming more emotional, more willing to be open emotionally. And if you're an older woman, you now know how to, and you like an older guy, then you know what his love needs are at this point. Okay, so we do have a biological shift, okay, which is why older women and younger men tends to get on better, because the older woman who is in menopause, she's coming into her sexuality. Her sex drive is up in the ceiling somewhere far. She's just this new being. Some of the things that we don't talk about when it comes to menopause, that we don't always share, because with, at the moment everybody's talking about how horrible it is, but there are some wonderful things. And so the younger guy tends to be the better option for an older woman, because he's usually up for it and he's fun and he's up for adventure and all of the things that she missed out on while she was raising her kids. Okay. So the body does change. So I do want you to realize that when you're dating 45 and over, it's a different experience and different expectations. And you're dating 45 and under, you really, really have to take and pay attention to performance and I'm not talking about outward performance, I'm talking about internal performance, okay, mental, emotional performance, because you're being judged on two very different matrix. Okay. um Men are action based, women are word based. We release oxytocin when we talk to each other. Okay, when we're amongst ourselves and we're talking and we're laughing, we're releasing this hormone, this bonding hormone. We are relieving ourselves of stress through talking. Okay. That is why words mean the world to us. Okay. That's why when a man says something like, "You're so beautiful," we're like, he said I'm beautiful. Right? Because words mean the world to us. We fall in love with our ears. What a man says to us can literally change the game. If he's not particularly attractive looking and he says the right thing, we're in, right? So we really have to consider this idea that we are wordy, we're word based, we have more words, we're word creatures, but we think men are too. And so we think that we can win them with words, we think we can negotiate with words. And I want you to know that the fewer words you use, the closer you will get to winning with men. Okay, they don't respect words. In fact, they have a mechanism in their brain that shuts off a certain part of their listening when you've been talking for more than 15 minutes. Okay, because they just can't tolerate yeah da, 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 da. Okay. That is not to say that a man that loves you won't spend time listening to you, but it's saying that he's just not wired for it. So be very direct in your conversations with men. Be very direct about your needs. Be very direct about what you want from him. Stop. Okay, you have the da 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 in your head, and then consolidate that. So when I'm coaching a client, a married woman, I'll say to her, "What's the need right now? I need you to tell me what the need is." Okay, you've just told me 30 minutes of what he did and what he didn't do. And I appreciate and understand, and we regulate and we soothe. And I'm like, okay, so can you tell me what the need is? What is the need? What do you want from him? What do you need from him? Okay. And then I give her a script. Okay, this is how you say it to him. This is when you say it to him, and ask directly for the need, because a man who loves you wants to meet your needs, right? What he doesn't want to do is spend time trying to figure out what they are. What he doesn't want to do or cannot do is hear you accuse him of being the devil's son, Lucifer's son, okay? um, he won't discern the need. He's just going to walk away thinking he's a failure and he's not really able to serve his woman. And then he's going to feel bad about himself. And then if he feels bad about himself, he's going to feel bad about you. He's going to lose attraction for you, right? So consolidate your words. So when we say, look, silence speaks, some people get upset because they're like, you're teaching women to go back to the whatever so they can be silent and abused. The stupid. No, that's not what we're teaching women to do. We're teaching women to be effective. There's no point if he's not listening to your da 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 da. Why are you doing it? Is the definition of insanity. Whenever we communicate with men, we need to be very clear. Okay, we need to be very clear about the need we need met, not what he did and what he didn't do. What need do you need met? What do you need him to do? You need him to take out the trash every single day. Let him take out the trash every single day. You need him to buy you flowers once a week. Ask him to buy you flowers once every week. Let's be clear about the need. Now, it's not about, I want you to buy me flowers. There's a way to ask. There's a way to let it be known, but let it be known. Okay. And if words that are high value and feminine don't work, and they're few words. Okay. So stop sending dissertations, stop sending long paragraphs, try and consolidate what you're trying to say, because subconsciously it's draining. Okay, just like when you're talking to a man and he's not giving you many words, it's like, oh, can you talk to me, please? You know, he will make an effort for you to talk to you because he knows you need it. He will make an effort. He will dig deep and talk to you about what he's thinking. Okay, and the favor we can give in return is to make an effort to consolidate our words, because he will not fall in love with you because of your words. He will respect action. So if you have a boundary and you set that boundary in a high value feminine way, and he doesn't seem to respect it, then you withhold and you withdraw and you go away. And I talk about this in the dark feminine energy. There's a way that you do it without being passive aggressive. I talk about that in the dark feminine energy mastery masterclass. Okay. Often we don't even have to talk our boundaries. 95% of the time we need to act our boundaries, right? If this is something that doesn't work for you, you're not available for it, period. Like, why are you going on, oh, I don't like that kind of date? No, no, no. I'm not available. I'm not available. End of story. Okay. So less words. Men are not women. They're not going to appreciate the dissertation you have in your head. Okay. Good. Well done. Okay. So men are more sexually driven. Women are more relationally driven. Okay. Now, I know we vilify men for this, and I don't know why. We've been doing it for years. I mean, we know this to be true, but for some reason, we vilify men for wanting what they want and needing what they need. And they vilify us for needing to be provided and protected for, like, I think is the most insane human behavior in all of my studies and in all of my experience. There's nothing wrong with a man being sexually driven. Hate to break it to you. You are the sexual gatekeeper. It is your job to watch the gate, to monitor the gate, to decide who goes in and out of your gate, right? Um, unless he forcibly and aggressively enters through your gate, which is nothing to do. That's not your fault. That's a crime. Okay, that's a crime. If he's not committing that crime, watch your gate. Watch your gate, and stop vilifying him for his nature. You know, somebody said to me, "Oh, these men," about some post of mine, and I said to her, "Why would you criticize a man for being a man? Like, it's like criticizing the sun for being the sun, ice for being cold. Like, the nature of a man is the nature of a man. The nature of a woman is the nature of a woman, right? Because you just have to figure out how to work with my nature, just like how we need to figure out how to work with the sun." Right, we put sunscreen on, we wear hats, and then we enjoy the sunshine, because the sunshine brings life to the world, and it makes us warm, and it grows flowers, and it changes our mood. The sun is a beautiful thing, but the nature of the sun is the closer you get to it, you're gonna burn. The nature of the sun is, it might cause cancer. It is the nature of a thing, and nature of a thing is not a good thing or a bad thing. You just have to figure out how you're going to handle it. And when we talk about men being so sexually driven, we act as though they're friggin' parasites or weirdos or thieves. It's the nature of a man. But it's up to us to determine the limits and the boundaries upon which he can have any kind of access. And it's up to us to have that. And in the same way, we are relationship seeking beings. Men shouldn't be upset with women because they want a relationship. That's the most ridiculous thing. Men would be like, oh, all these women want is a relationship. They just want a relationship. That would be ridiculous. Of course we want a relationship. Of course we want somebody to claim us and to protect us and to guarantee our security and safety and to value us and to hold us. Of course we want a relationship. We would rather have a relationship than being laid and discarded every 2 minutes. Surely there's nothing wrong with that. And yes, men may not choose a relationship because a relationship comes with a lot of responsibility for a man. He now has to take on responsibility in one way, shape, or form. And of course, they don't want to take on that responsibility, but we're not wrong for wanting that, right? And in the same way, because he's the emotional gatekeeper, he determines how far we go emotionally. He determines whether I can be his girlfriend, whether I can be his wife, right? That's his space. It's up to him to gatekeep, not up to me to not desire a relationship. And some of us have turned ourselves into something weird, right? We were told if you want a relationship, you're gonna scare him off. What should you want? Now, do we lead with I want a relationship? It's as ridiculous as a man leading with I want to get laid. Like, it's as ridiculous as going on a first date and he's like, can we have sex now? You'd be like, what? In the same way as, I want to be in a relationship with you. No, you can state that I am dating with intention, to one day, if it's the right person, the right time, to one day be somebody's wife. There should be no shame in that game. You're not saying I need you to be my husband. And a lot of my clients are like, who are married, started that way and they didn't have their time wasted, because most men will tell you, well, that's not what I want. Yay, good. We're not saying I want you to marry me. We're not saying I'm desperate and thirsty for marriage, but this is my intention. This is my position. Take it or leave it. And in the same vein, a man should want and desire you, and speak of his sexual want and desire for you without being vilified and made into Lucifer's son. Okay, we can acknowledge, yes, that's how you feel, that's what you would like, but these are the standards that go with that. That this is the access point. This is how you access that. For me, marriage, for me, it's engagement. For me, it's some verbal commitments. For me, everyone's different. Okay, you have to figure out what your standard is based on your core values, your religion or lack thereof, your relationship with God. All of those things, you got to work that out. But having a standard is more important than vilifying somebody for being who God created them to be. Last but absolutely not least, because there's a whole course called Secrets of a Man's Mind. I think 2 courses called Secret of a Man's Mind that you can go and buy. But this last one is, I beg your pardon, regulating emotions. Okay. So I touched on it a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier and today, and I've got like 20 minutes on my battery, so I'll let you ask questions right after this, and then if the phone dies, it dies. For men, regulating their emotions, I beg your pardon, is a mammoth task. Okay, it's huge. It's a big endeavor, because they are conditioned, socialized to never really give the emotions bandwidth and space. Their brains a little bit different from ours in that they're either thinking or feeling. They're hardly ever in the feeling space. We feel all the time. We're always feeling and we're always thinking, because of that corpus callosum where that connects the left and right lobe. So we're interconnected. Okay. Men are either in a place of feeling or a place of thinking, unless they are left-handed or ambidextrous men or biologically gay men. And they have brains that reflect more of a woman's brain. So when a man needs to regulate his emotions, he is going to go into activity. He's going to need time, distance, and space, like we discussed a little bit earlier. It's a lot of work for him. Okay, we want to talk this out now. Okay, for a woman, regulating her emotions happens as we talk. As we talk, we regulate our emotions, and it's an easier gig for us. It really is. I'm not saying that it doesn't hurt when it's painful or it's hurtful. I'm not saying that it's not frustrating, but I'm saying that it is so much easier for us to figure out. So when we go to men and we're like, tell me what's on your mind, darling. What's bothering you? And he says, I just need some time. I just need some space. It's okay. And then you go back with the whole, but I need to know. We are partners. Just tell me. Why won't you talk to me? Like the Hollywood movies. When that man's out that door and he's not choosing you, don't come crying to me. Okay. When a man is needing to regulate his emotions, facilitate that. All he needs to know is when you're ready, if you are ever ready to talk about it, or need anything from me, I'm here for you. Just let me know. Don't press it. Don't do it. Because it's mothering. You're not his mom. Okay? You're not his mommy. Don't do it. And this is very important, especially for married women, but certainly not in the early stages of dating. But I can see something is wrong. Tell me what's on your mind. Tell me now. Okay, that's not going to work because you're now adding stress. Often, a masculine man just needs an environment, just create an environment where he can be, right? Where he can just be. He can be moody if he wants to, and you can excuse yourself so you don't have to share in that energy, but you excuse yourself in a good, kind way. So I had a client once, and her boyfriend was having a really, really bad day. She was so looking forward to going out that night, and that's, she hadn't sleep. She's excited, and as she should be. And so she turns up to his place, and he's super grumpy. He's had a terrible day, and he's just really grumpy. And she's like, we need to talk about this. Let's talk about it. Let's do okay. Um and obviously the thing escalated, and before they knew it, there was no date. So I said to her, look, for future reference, because it's done, all you had to do was see that he wasn't in a great mood, and you can say, darling, I can see from your body language or from the energy in the room that you're not doing very well. Is there anything I can do to make things better? Is there anything I can do? If he says, no, no, I'm okay, da, 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 you can say, you know what? I'm happy to postpone. I have some things to do anyway tonight. If you need some time and space, I'm good to go, and I'll see you tomorrow. Then if he wants you to stay, then he's going to have to change his energy, right? Because he wants you to stay. If he's not ready to change his energy, he's going to be so grateful. You're going to be the kind of woman that understands. Will you be disappointed? Yes. But this is why we keep telling you to to decenter a man from your life. Disappointment is fine, but I always say with me, it's been a long time since I've been let down, because trust me, if you cancel on me, I already have a plan. Like, I always have a backup. And if I don't have a backup, I'm so busy with the work I do with you ladies that I can go on for 5, 6 hours and not even realize what I've been doing, creating courses or being on calls or whatever. Even I've lost count of how long I've been on this live. So for me, when I'm in my purpose and I'm fulfilling my assignment, I completely lose track. And that's the beauty of having that in your life, because I would have just gone to a restaurant, sat down, and created reels, or spoke to my coaches, or contacted the client, whatever. And I would have had a great time by myself. And this is why having that ability to be with yourself is always going to be useful, even in a marriage. Being with yourself should be okay, because your partner isn't always going to be ripe, ready to perform for you. And vice versa, right? Vice versa. We would expect the same understanding from men if we found ourselves in that situation. Well, that is the 10. I will save this live, I promise. I am just looking for any questions. I think the questions have been put in here. So let's see what we have. So the question is Sherry Bello. I have a question. I want to thank you for answering the call of purpose. Thank you so much. I love you deeply, even though I've never met you. Oh, you are so welcome. You are so, now that is the blessing I needed today. Thank you. Uh, Xavieras.gram. I hope I said that properly. Okay, let's see what the question is. He's a decent guy. He approached me first and said he wants me. Flop is a bad texter, but he always invites me out. We last met this weekend as I was leaving. He said to me, you should call me after, and I have been battling with that. Why should I call? Wouldn't that look desperate? Let me just make sure I'm clear. We last met this weekend. As I was leaving, he said you should call me after. Okay, so he's a decent guy. He approached me first and said he wants me. Flop is a bad texter. Okay, so he prefers to talk. This is really him asking you to. Oh, sorry. This is him asking you to show him interest. So here's something for all of us. Okay, some of us, many of us, date defensively. What that means is we're so busy trying to not get hurt and disappointed that we don't even show up at all, that we don't compliment him, validate him, affirm him enough within the dating process for when he does great things, that sometimes men doubt that you are into them. Sometimes they don't know if they're doing all the heavy lifting. And the problem is when we're talking about being reciprocal, like I said, you don't reciprocate. The feminine does not reciprocate to the masculine in the way of the masculine. So if a man gives you something, I give him something back, right? When a man gives you something, your reciprocation is to really appreciate and validate him for what he's given you, okay? A little bit more than you would ordinarily, okay? So if you're kind of like, thanks, girl, we're going to say something like, thank you so much, that made me feel so special. Okay, we're going to go a little bit further and let him know that this. I'm sorry about that. That's my phone letting me know that my battery's dying. So what I'm hearing is that in the time from the moment he approached you to now, you have not sufficiently communicated shared interest. So what happens with men is when they don't feel like the feeling is mutual, because we're not showing up the way we should, we're not being gracious, we're not being flirtatious, we're not, and I'm not saying this is you, I'm just saying this for the benefit of everyone. When we're not showing up in our feminine and being fun and flirty and, letting him know that we like him, not with our words, but everything in our bodies, letting him know, I'm feeling you. If we don't communicate that effectively, what men will do is go into their feminine and begin to ask for that same reciprocity. I can never say that word. They will say, you call me. Some will say, why don't you plan the next date? It's not because they want you to plan the next date per se. Remember what I said in the beginning? If you were here in the very beginning, I said that the mating and dating rituals of human beings, of the human species, is done through symbols, tokens, and signs. Right? So when a man is taking us for dates and paying for the dates, it's a symbol, token, and a sign. It is not him paying for us to eat, right? Like some feminists believe, like he's paying for it to eat. It's not that. It's a token, symbol, and a sign that I am a competent, capable provider and protector. When we put on our pretty faces and do our hair and do our makeup, we're actually indicating that I respect your eyes. I respect your desires. We're saying I'm competent and capable of being respectful, right? Because we know if a man were to take us on a date and we showed up in our pajamas, and those of us who wear bonnets and our bonnet on and our bedroom slippers, that would be disrespectful to his eyes, right? So when we're dressing up, it's not because we're trying to impress the guy. It is a subconscious token, sign, and symbol, right? That I am sexually available to you, potentially sexually available to you. So that's why we do the hair and makeup and look pretty, right? And that's why they pay for the bill. It's got nothing to do with what feminism and red pillism has turned the world into. And so what he will then do is say, I need a token. So you calling him is now a token. It's not a phone call. Okay. So I really would need a lot more information about your relationship, quite frankly, to know and more detail. But off the top of my head, from what I'm seeing, make the call. Just make the call and be very pleasant and don't stay on there too long. 30 minutes maximum. Make the call, be sweet and lovely, Thank you so much for one of, you asked for a call. Here's your call as requested. Make it flirty. Don't come with the whole, I'm going to be calling you all the time. And, have a good chit chat. Look at your watch and be off that phone. If he wants to speak to you, he can, you can reset that. Don't call him after that. Don't do it. Let him initiate. Okay. So one of the things, again, that might be useful, I believe on my YouTube channel, I talked about how women can, the difference between masculine and feminine men and the level of initiation that is required. So if you're dating a man who's more in his feminine, he's going to need you to initiate a lot more. So I always say a ratio of 1 to 2. So he initiates contact twice, you initiate the third time, but never in a really deep kind of outdoing him way, but in a sweet, cute, flirtatious, quick way, quick in, quick out. Okay, so that initiation is done, so that he gets the feminine men a lot more insecure, because men are not supposed to be secure in their feminine; they're supposed to be secure in their masculine, right? A masculine energy man, we're looking at initiation of maybe 3 to 4 ratio. That means he'll initiate 3 to 4 times, depending on how masculine he is. Some men are alpha. They will happily initiate for the rest of your relationship, but some will need you to initiate too. So I think if he has been doing a lot of the initiating, and if he is somewhat in his feminine energy, I don't know him, I don't know the full story, then he will need you to initiate. So I would make that call, but then that would be the last time I initiate, until he initiates another 2 or 3 times, depending on whether he's a feminine or masculine energy guy. I hope that answers your question. Let's get to the next one. Okay, Jackie Heath, 26. I'm not taking my first chance. I'm not taking my first chance on a man that DM'd me. How can I tell if he's the actual guy or fake? mm, I don't understand what you mean by I'm not taking my first chance. Okay. Okay, let me answer this generally, because I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, and I'm really sorry. It might just be me. I've been talking for 2 hours, and sometimes my brain has a way of shutting down. Um, the only way we're ever going to truly know whether we should give somebody our time and attention on a long-term basis is to speak to them, is to vet them and verify, meet them. I think that we're all getting a little bit, obviously, if they start asking for money and personal information and stuff like that, you know it's dodgy, right? But if you, furthermore, you need to trust your instinct. Okay, so if you're feeling like, I don't want to take a chance with this guy, maybe there's something wrong with him. Maybe you need to listen to your instinct. But if it's not anything to do with that, and you just want to make sure that you're high value, let's give it time. You will only really know a man whether he's really seated in his feminine or masculine, whether he's genuinely interested or not, whether he's high value or not. Because some men project as high value, but they're evil. They're sons of Lucifer. Some are, the cars they're driving, the clothes they're wearing, a woman bought them for him. So just watch out. But you want to give a man, if he is pursuing you in a respectful way, consistently, and you are interested, you want to give it about 3 to 6 months to really get to know if a guy's for real or not. And obviously, you're not exclusive with him until you know if he's real or not. So I just think, if there are no real red flags or alarm bells, um, talk to him. You know, people reveal themselves quite quickly if you're looking, if you're paying attention, right? The reason why we feel bamboozled is because often we're not paying attention to the initial cues, the little flashing red flags. So I don't see, I think the only way you're going to know is to talk to him. If you're not sure, you can use your complimentary call with our coaches, and maybe you can have that conversation The coach is free, and maybe you can run the scenario by them, and they might be able to give you like more accurate sort of advice. With that being said, I don't know. You only get one complimentary call with us, so you might want to be careful how you use it. But I definitely want to encourage all of you to book your complimentary call, and on that call, you are going to tell us your story. You're going to tell us what you need. The coach will absolutely give you a takeaway. This is for men and for women, by the way, because we do have male clients. The coach will give you, in the time allocated to you based on how you fill out the form, they will give you something actionable to do. And then they will send you an email with your Black Swan journey. And what that means is the next steps that you need to take in order to get to where you want to get to. And you can take that away with you and do whatever the hell you want. You can shove that in your trash on your email or whatever. But the reason why this call is really important is because the Black Swan Relationship Academy is just so full of courses and coaches, and we are full. And I was finding that clients were really getting confused, and my admin was having to go back and forth with emails. So I was like, let's just do a call. And in that call, we can really touch down with what's going on, what women need, and we can serve them and support them. So it is absolutely complimentary. All you have to do is comment help, and you will get a link and you will book a call to speak to a professional. Turning 30, 38, I think you're going to be the last question I'll answer because my battery will die. Turning 38, we are recently exclusive, but he constantly leers at waitresses. I'm so sorry. So sorry. My throat is going dry and I didn't bring any water. Leah's at waitresses. Recently, he even talked to women at the bar while we were on a date. So I'm not sure what the question is, but I will give commentary on what I think. It's disrespectful, and I think me saying that doesn't come as a surprise to you. My question to you is, why do you tolerate it? Like, why is that okay for you? Because you said you're recently exclusive. That means he's been doing it probably way sooner. So when you were choosing to be exclusive with him, you knew he leers at waitresses and he talks to other women. You knew that. So you accepted the deal, and you signed the contract. And now you think because you're exclusive, you can change the contract. Right? And this is a mistake that a lot of women make. Once we're exclusive, I can start to work on stuff. No, baby, because at every level of commitment, a contract must be signed. So even though the man is the emotional gatekeeper, and he says, I'd like for you to be my girlfriend. Sure, here are the set of expectations, rules, and things that I expect from you as a boyfriend. It's not just I'll be your girlfriend because I fancy you, or because you've taken me out on a few dates. Are you able to sign my contract? So this is something that needed to be negotiated, and I think I addressed this in the dating playbook, and I addressed this in the cracking the commitment code. Ladies, we must learn to have contracts signed. And when I talk about contracts, I said this to one of the girls in the group in Black Swan Nation, and she literally wrote out a whole contract. It was amazing. I was like, you should totally present it to him. We're talking about verbal contracts and agreements here, okay? We're talking about romance and love. We're not trying to get into deep things. Hey, Bishop R.C. Blakes is with us. He's popping in, I'm sure. He'll be popping out, I'm sure. We're talking about you can't just get into a contract. You can't just agree to be somebody's girlfriend. So at this point, you saw that you could have said to him, I'd love to be your girlfriend. However, I have a difficulty with how you leer at waitresses and talk to other women. Is this something that you think you can bring, that you can manage, that you can control? Otherwise, I will not be able to be in a relationship with you. And you have every right to it. You have every right to leer at any woman you want to and talk to all the women you want. But it makes me feel really uncomfortable, and it's not something that I would want from a long-term partner and a long-term mate. That's what should have happened. But something tells me that you have a self-abandoning pattern. And now you are exclusive. We love you too, Bishop. And now you are in this exclusive relationship with this man, and you didn't give him your contract. You didn't set your boundaries. So now you're on the other side. You're now exclusive, and guess what? You are now trying to change a dynamic. You can always change the dynamic of a relationship at any point, but it comes at a cost. Okay? It comes as a cost. So, yes, you can change the dynamic. You can sit down and listen to him. You can say to him, you know, hey, John, you have every right to look at waitresses or any woman that you want, and talk to as many women as you like. It's just that it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel disrespected. It makes me feel whatever. Is this something that you are capable and willing to address so that we can continue with our relationship? Again, how to talk to men so they listen is in the academy, so you go do that. Okay. He may very well say no. Number two, when you have that conversation, be prepared to walk away, because chances are he's not going to change. A learned behavior over time. If he's doing it with you, he's done it before, he's been doing it a while. If you allow this to continue, you are letting him know that you will tolerate some kind of disrespect in this relationship, and this won't be the first form of disrespect. It's only going to get worse. Okay? I want you, my darling swan, I already adore you. I want you to ask yourself, what is it in me that does not feel worthy of complete devotion and respect? Because if you don't deal with that part of you, whoever you meet next is going to be exactly the same, because our wounds, they vibrate at a frequency that calls predators. Okay? Our wounds, our self-image vibrates, has its own frequency, and it calls men who disrespect us into our lives. So there's a two-part job. You need to communicate how you feel, because you're now exclusive. You are in a degree of commitment. So you can't just give him the finger without giving him a chance to change or to address it, because some men will change for the woman that they value. So we must always make sure before we run or dump him or cause drama, that we communicate in a high value feminine way. When we have done that, the next step is to be prepared to walk away if no change is seen, and to do so and never turn back. And I mean, never turn back. A high value woman has boundaries for a reason. They're to protect her soul. And if those boundaries are not honored and respected, this man presents a danger to your mental and emotional health. So we don't have arbitrary boundaries. Our boundaries are for our safety and security. They are for our mental and emotional, physical health. Okay? So that's what you need to do. I hope that answered your question. Oh my God, I have 9% of my battery. Let me, okay. If this cuts out, I will end up, uh, if this cuts out, I'm sorry, I'll just say what we have, okay? And let me see if I can answer this real quick, and then I promise I'm out of here. I love you, love you, love you. But Girls, you got questions. Okay, what we'll do for these questions is I will make a post and you can put your questions underneath. And what I will do is come on live at some point this week. I'll put a post in my stories. You can send me your questions, and I will do another live this week or next week. And first, before I even go into the live, answer all your questions. So let's have this. How important is a man communicating with you every day, and how can I cut off a guy that isn't meeting my expectations of communication? I told him I didn't like the lack of communication. He apologized sincerely, but didn't change. So I don't think he's really serious about me. Okay. Oh, I don't think I have time to answer this. I don't think I've got time to answer this, but it's a really good question. I've got a question. Does he know that communicating with you better is daily communication? Does he know that? Because some men don't know that. Some men think, well, I'm calling an extra time this week than I did last week, so I'm doing better, right? So I need to know whether he knows that for you, that means daily. That's number one. Number two, daily communication is healthy, and a man should want to do that from himself. Like, sometimes we need to lean back and let a man show us who he is rather than compel him to be what we want. Okay, why don't you let him show you who he is? Why don't you let him show you how much he naturally, willingly, with his whole heart gives to you, without burdening him with what you need at this point in your relationship? Because remember, gathering data is not just about I want, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. Yes, sometimes you have to gather data by saying, okay, if I ask a man for this, will he willingly give it to me? That's a way of gathering data, okay? But sometimes we have to be able to say, okay, who is he without compulsion? Who is he without me begging? So you've told him you need more. He hasn't offered more. Lean back, talk to other people. See if he gives you more. And when he does give you attention, be a pleasant person to talk to. Be interesting. Don't be moany, complaining. Some of us, like, men don't want to call us because we just bad energy, right? Because every time you speak to him, you're going to criticize him about something. He didn't call you. Why isn't he calling you? Da, 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 da. This is the conversation I was having with my sister's hairdresser. She berates him every time he doesn't call, and now he doesn't call. Who wants to do that? My mom berates me every time I don't call her, so I hardly call her because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get the telling off. I'm going to be a disappointment. I'll call her tomorrow. So, make that call worth making. Are you flirtatious? Are you happy? Are you giving your feminine energy and making that call amazing for him? Or is it drudgery and, you're upset because he didn't call you, so he's got attitude and he's going to deal with it? He just won't call. So there's so many things around this, but I'm going to say, lean back and let's see who he is, because some men, if you give them space, they'll come for you. Sometimes you might have an anxious attachment style, so your energy might always be going for him. And sometimes when we lean back into our feminine and we fill ourselves up with all that good, yummy feminine stuff, as in the way we regulate our emotions, a man will, in his masculine energy, come and pursue us and make more effort. And, you've said what you've said. Now it's time for you to lean back. And if he's not serious about you, it's only going to manifest, right? He's only going to fall back more. And, if you're dating other people, may the best man win. It's that simple. I hope that helps. Best way to answer when a man asks you for dating other men. The best way to answer is, yes, I'm having fun making new friends, meeting new people. Yeah, we don't need to go into it. Aren't you? So you can say, yes, I'm having fun meeting new people. Aren't you? And leave it at that. So you told him he wanted daily communication, but he wasn't used to it, so he'll try. Okay. Well, let's see what trying looks like. Give it time. Give it time. And reward him when he does try. Okay? Acknowledge his effort. And let's see if he does more. And don't be a grumpy girl. Black swans are not grumpy. We're the best women to be around ever. Jackie, thank you so much for the DM answer. My question is, how can I tell if this guy's account is being hacked or is real? Right, I'm asking questions and asking for pictures, but I'm concerned it's fraud. Well, if it doesn't feel real, keep asking. At some point, they're going to ask for money or something, you know. Just keep going. Um, just keep going. Let's be patient with the process. That's really what I'll leave with you, ladies. Be patient with the process. Relationships are not cooked on full heat, okay? The best relationships are cooked on simmer. Let's take our time. Let's get to know him. Let's be kind. Let's be kind. Let's be kind. I know it can be hard. I've not been very kind in the comments to some of these guys because I've been triggered. So God forgive me, and may they forgive me too. I've not been my best self. Not all the time. I do try. But it is hard sometimes to be kind, and sometimes it's hard to be patient, and sometimes uh, it's hard to love. And love is patient, and love is kind, and love has so much to bear, right? It's forbearing, and it's um, love is not lazy, and love is not in a rush. So if we want true love, if we want true connection, then we have to come at it with a heart full of love. And a heart full of love, according to scripture, is it's patient, it's kind, it endureth all things, it hopes all things. It is this beautiful character building exercise, right? And with an open heart full of love, it doesn't mean we will select the person. It doesn't mean that we will end up with the person. But what it does mean is that we grow from the experience. What it means is we become the upgraded version of ourselves, and we win because we came full of love. Okay. My hope and dream is that every Black Swan will leave their partner feeling like they lost the best thing that ever happened to them, not feeling like, ugh, God, thank God, thank God, I don't know what's thinking, right? It is your legacy, your love legacy. Our love legacy is what we live in other people's hearts, right? Your love legacy is how you are remembered. Your love legacy is uh, how much love you gave and who became a better human by being loved by you. So, with all of that being said, my darlings, I have been here too long. I need to go and drink some water. I love you to bits and pieces. Take care of you. Love you lots. Mwah.